No bond for the suspected killer of Nahida Bristy and Zamil Limon. He was not present in court today. However, dozens of friends gathered there, among them a single family member who says she wants the suspect to face the harshest punishment possible.
He is not a human being. He is an animal. He is an animal.
We came to know that both Jamil's and his roommate, another Indian roommate, filed complaints against him just 15 days ago. The incident happened. He has some anger issue and severe anger issues.
There's a second roommate in this case that nobody is talking about. Not Hisham Abugharbi, not the man charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The other one, the person who was also living in that off-campus apartment 3 blocks from the University of South Florida. The person who came home at 11 p.m. on the night of April 16th and noticed that several items were missing from the common area. That person has never been publicly named, never been publicly cleared, never been publicly questioned in front of a camera. And yet they were inside the same walls where investigators believe 2 people were killed. Why is nobody asking about them? Welcome back to CrimeLab's report. I'm your host. If you are new here, subscribe right now and turn on notifications because today we are not doing what every other channel is doing with this case. We are not walking through the arrest timeline you have already seen 10 times. We are going into the parts of this investigation that law enforcement is deliberately staying quiet about. The gaps, the unanswered questions, the details buried inside court documents that the major news networks glossed over in 30 seconds. Stay with me through this entire video, because by the end of it you're going to understand why this case is far more complicated than a simple roommate story. Zamil Limon was 27 years old, a doctoral student at USF studying geography, environmental science, and policy. He had been building his thesis for 2 years, researching how artificial intelligence could be used to track shrinking wetlands across South Florida. His family in Bangladesh described him as decent, humble, always smiling. He was planning to fly home that summer. He had a future so clearly mapped out that the people who loved him could describe it in detail. Nahida Bristy was also 27, a doctoral student in chemical engineering, a master's degree already behind her. Sharp, driven, the kind of person her professors remembered. She and Zamil had been introduced to a professor over email when he first arrived at USF. Friendship first, then something deeper. By early 2026, they had talked seriously about marriage. 2 people from Bangladesh, building something real in a foreign country, leaning on each other in a way that only people who are far from home truly understand. On April 16th, Zamil was last seen at his apartment. At 9 a.m., Bristy was last seen on campus at 10 a.m. By April 17th, a family friend who could not reach either of them contacted campus police. By April 22nd, the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office officially classified both of them as endangered. And by April 24th, Zamil Limon's remains were recovered from the Howard Franklin Bridge inside multiple black heavy-duty trash bags in advanced stages of decomposition. His cause of death was multiple sharp force injuries. His manner of death was homicide. Hisham Abugharbi, his roommate, was arrested that same morning and charged with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder. Now here's where we slow down, because the arrest is not the story. The arrest is the beginning of the questions. The first question is the one I opened this video with. Who is the second roommate, and what did they actually see? Court documents reference this individual directly. They told investigators that when they returned home at 11 p.m. on April 16th, several items were missing from the common area of the apartment. They also told investigators that the CVS delivery, trash bags, Lysol wipes, Febreze, had been ordered by Abugharbi. That information was critical to the investigation. But beyond those 2 details, this person has completely vanished from the public narrative of this case. No name, no follow-up, no statement. In a case built heavily on what happened inside that apartment, the person who lived inside that apartment and came home that night is being treated like a footnote. The second question is about the weapon. Court documents state that investigators believe Abugharbi used a bladed instrument to kill both Zamil and Bristy. Zamil's autopsy confirmed multiple sharp force injuries. But here is what has never been publicly confirmed. Where is that weapon? Has it been recovered? Was it the same Glock found at Sand Key Park in Clearwater, a loaded firearm traced back to someone in the Florida Keys that search teams discovered during the investigation? Law enforcement has never connected that gun publicly to a Bug Harvey or explained its presence in the exact area where he drove the victims on the night they disappeared. A loaded weapon, found in the search zone, traced to someone in the Florida Keys, and then silence. The third question is about the lacerations. When investigators first approached the Bug Harvey, they noticed a bandage cut on his left pinky finger. He said he cut himself slicing onions. But what the major coverage is almost entirely skipped is what investigators found beyond that finger. A Bug Harvey had lacerations on his legs as well, multiple fresh wounds, on a man who was denying all involvement in the deaths of 2 people who were killed with a bladed instrument. Think about what a struggle looks like. Think about what it means when the person holding the weapon also ends up cut. Those leg lacerations have never been explained publicly, and nobody in law enforcement has addressed them directly. The fourth question is the one that the families themselves deserve an answer to. How did Nahida Bristy end up inside that apartment? She did not live there. She had her own place. She was last seen on campus at 10 a.m., yet the blood evidence inside that apartment was so significant that investigators contacted her family in Bangladesh before her body was even found and told them they believed she was dead, not missing, dead. That is a phone call law enforcement does not make lightly. That is a phone call that requires certainty. So at some point between her 10 a.m. campus sighting and whenever that apartment became a crime scene, Nahida Bristy walked through that front door. What brought her there? Was she invited? Was she already expected? Did she arrive to find something she was never meant to see? That 1-hour gap between Zamil's last sighting at the apartment and Bristy's last sighting on campus is a thread that nobody has fully pulled yet. The fifth question is about the domestic violence call that led to the arrest. On April 24th, deputies responded to a domestic violence incident at a Bug Harvey's family home just north of the USF campus. That call is what led directly to his arrest. But who made it? Law enforcement has never identified the caller. What happened inside the house in the 8 days between April 16th and April 24th that pushed someone to pick up the phone? Was a Bug Harvey unraveling? Had he said something? Had the family begun to piece together what he had done? The call that broke this case open has never been explained, and the person who made it has never been publicly acknowledged. The sixth question is about the timeline of the investigation itself. Zamil and Bristy were reported missing on April 17th. They were not classified as endangered until April 22nd, 5 days later. 5 days in a missing persons case involving 2 young doctoral students who had no history of disappearing, no reason to vanish, and whose family friend raised the alarm immediately. What happened in those 5 days? What information came in that finally triggered the endangered classification? And more importantly, was there a window in those early days where a faster response could have changed the recovery of evidence or the location of Bristy's remains? As of the time this script was written, human remains discovered near Interstate 275 and 4th Street North on the St. Petersburg side of the Howard Franklin Bridge on April 27th had not yet been officially identified. Investigators believe those remains belonged to Nahida Bristy. Dive teams have been searching that exact stretch of Tampa Bay since Zamil's body was recovered. Court documents state plainly that there is no evidence to support any probability that Nahida Bristy is still alive. Her family has asked only one thing, that her body be handled according to Islamic burial rituals. That is the only request they have made from the other side of the world, while waiting for news that no family should ever have to receive. Hisham Bug Harvey is currently charged with 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder with a weapon, unlawfully moving a dead body, failure to report a death with intent to conceal, tamper with physical evidence, false imprisonment, and battery. He is being held without bond. His public defender has declined to comment. A pre-trial hearing has been scheduled, and this case is moving forward.
Call up the first case, Hisham Abu Garbi, Falkenberg and Orient. Can you hear me?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning. Michael Rivera, Office of Public Defender at Orient Road, off camera.
But I need you to understand something before this video ends. The charges are not the whole story. The arrest is not the whole story. The whole story lives inside the questions that law enforcement is protecting behind the phrase, "We will not comment to protect the integrity of the investigation." That phrase is necessary. It is legitimate, but also means that the second roommate remains unnamed. The weapon remains unaccounted for publicly. The lacerations on his legs remain unexplained. The motive remains officially unconfirmed. And Nahida Bristy's final moments remain known only to the man sitting in Falkenberg Road jail right now saying nothing. Zamil Limon came to Florida to study how the earth loses things quietly. Wetlands shrinking, water disappearing, things that are gone before anyone notices they are missing. There is something unbearable about that. A man whose entire academic life was dedicated to paying attention to quiet disappearances, becoming one himself. Nahida Bristy came to Florida to build something, to earn something, to become something that would make her family proud on the other side of the world. She did all of that, and it still was not enough to protect her. Their names deserve to stay loud. This case is not over. The trial has not started. The questions have not been answered, and I will be here covering every single development as it comes. Subscribe if you're not already. Share this video, and say their names. Zamil Limon Nahida Bristy. I will see you in the next one.